what you just said right there about, you know, the bureaucracy and the self-perpetuation. I believe it was political theorist Max Weber that talked a little bit about that. That's going back to my poli-sci days. Now maybe I got that wrong, but the point is this: you talked about courage, and this is wrapping it all together. Does this Congress, under Speaker Boehner, but you also have to work with, you know, Leader Reid.
Right.
Do you guys have the courage? Do the leaders in Washington have the courage to tackle the debt, the deficit, the entitlements? I know that's a hot button issue everywhere, especially here in Florida. Tell me about that.
Well, you've hit on the problem. The problem is that we only control one house of Congress, and then they control, obviously, the Senate and the White House. So whatever we can get sometimes is not exactly what we would want if we had complete control. But for the very first time, it should not be lost on your viewers. For the very first time in a long time, we're talking about spending cuts. You know, in the last Congress, when we were completely in the minority, it was just and universal socialized medicine and everything. Now we're talking about, you know, it's not enough. Granted, we're approaching $15 trillion in debt. So these cuts that we're making with continuing resolutions or with the debt limit or with the super committee, they are drops in the bucket. But we've never associated those things before in the past with, okay, how are we going to cut dollar for dollar in spending too? So the fact that we've put the brakes on and been able to actually get some cuts in this Congress, I think sets us up to say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're about, and if you give us the Senate in November, and if you give us the White House, you know, you ain't seen nothing yet. And because we don't have a choice. I mean, we cannot sustain, my kids, my oldest is 10 years old, and I got 3 sons. By the time that they're my age, entitlements will encompass the entire budget. And we cannot sustain, we'll go the way of all the great superpowers or countries or empires, really, of history if we continue down this path, and we'll be there in a lot shorter time than those places did. And that's if I have anything to do with it, you know, I don't want to be 80, right? And I think there's a lot of people in Washington that, you know, when I'm 80 years old, I don't want to have a conversation with my son saying, hey, you know, when America went from being great to not being great, weren't you in Congress when that happened? You know, so I don't want to be. Yeah. What were you doing? So that's the motivation.